China's technological supremacy wasn't born in laboratories. It began with the absolute control of raw materials. Decades ago, Beijing recognized a simple truth. Whoever controls strategic metals controls the future. 2. Rare earths, a set of 17 critical chemical elements, form the backbone of modern technology. They are completely irreplaceable for manufacturing screens, microchips, magnets, and advanced weapon systems. Today, China heavily dominates the very first stage of the supply chain, extracting roughly 60% of the world's rare earths, leaving the US and Australia trailing far behind. But their true weapon isn't the extraction, it's the processing. China controls a staggering 85% to 90% of the global rare earth refining capacity. 5. Processing these materials is extremely expensive and highly polluting. For decades, the West outsourced this environmental cost to China, essentially handing them the keys to a global monopoly. Expanding beyond its own borders, China has stretched its tentacles deep into Africa and Latin America through massive state investments, securing access to third-party resources. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, Chinese companies now control over 70% of the cobalt mines, a metal that is absolutely vital for lithium-ion batteries. Similarly, China dominates lithium refining, controlling about 65% of global production, despite not having the largest natural reserves within its own territory. When it comes to graphite, another critical material for battery anodes, China produces around 70% globally and controls nearly 100% of its final processing. This suffocating grip on raw materials means that any Western company wanting to build high-end technology is directly dependent on Chinese exports. Part 2. The transition. From raw material to component 11. Having secured the materials, the Chinese government massively subsidized the creation of component factories, transitioning from the role of miner to the role of manufacturer. 12. China no longer just exports raw lithium or cobalt, it exports the finished batteries. It is the undisputed king of the energy storage industry. The Chinese company CATL is the largest manufacturer of electric vehicle batteries in the world, holding a massive market share of nearly 37%. 14. Together with the second largest Chinese powerhouse, BYD, China controls over 50% of the entire global vehicle battery market. 15. This vertically integrated production allows China to manufacture batteries at a cost up to 20% lower than factories in the US or Europe. The exact same strategy was applied to solar panels. Today, China produces 80% of the world's solar panels, literally obliterating its European competitors. In the microchip sector, China historically lagged behind, relying heavily on imports from Taiwan's TSMC and the United States. However, following heavy US sanctions, Beijing poured over $100 billion into building its own independent semiconductor industry through companies like SMIC. While it cannot yet produce the most cutting-edge 2 or 3 nanometer chips, China already dominates the production of legacy chips, the older generation chips essential for cars and household appliances. This massive shift ensures that the global industrial ecosystem simply cannot function without the Chinese component supply chain. Part 3. Research, Development, and Final Products 21. Over the last decade, China stopped being just the cheap assembly plant for the West and transformed into a creator of its own top-tier final products. 22. China's spending on research and development has skyrocketed, surpassing 3% of its GDP, which translates to over $450 billion annually. 23. The result of this massive investment is glaringly obvious in electric vehicles. China is now both the largest market and the largest producer of EVs on the planet. In late 2023, the Chinese automaker BYD surpassed Tesla in global sales of purely electric vehicles, writing a new chapter in automotive history. 25. Beyond cars, China completely dominates consumer tech. Chinese brands like Xiaomi, Oppo, and Vivo hold roughly 50% of the global smartphone market. 6. In the drone sector, the Chinese company DJI has established an absolute monopoly, controlling nearly 70% of the global commercial unmanned aerial vehicle market. 27. In telecommunications, Huawei and ZTE, despite facing crushing Western sanctions, remain the top suppliers of 5G network equipment worldwide, particularly in Asia and Africa. 28. China is also leading the race in artificial intelligence, specifically in facial recognition applications, autonomous driving, and big data analysis. 29. It holds the most patents globally in both AI and upcoming 6G technology, actively laying the groundwork for the next decade of digital dominance. 30. The country has already integrated high-tech into its daily life to a shocking degree, with digital payments like WeChat Pay and Alipay completely replacing physical cash. Part 4. Exports and global trade. The numbers. 31. The sheer scale of Chinese trade is dizzying. In 2023, the total value of Chinese exports surpassed $3.3 trillion. Out of that massive number, machinery and electronic technological equipment make up nearly 50% of their total exports, highlighting the true nature of their economy. 33. Exports of high-value-added technological products such as computers, smartphones, and advanced components consistently exceed $900 billion every single year. 34. A massive boom is currently happening with China's 3 new export products: electric cars, lithium batteries, and solar panels. 35. The export of these 3 green technologies surged by almost 30% in 2023, reaching a staggering value of $150 billion. 36. In the automotive sector alone, China overtook Japan in 2023 to officially become the largest car exporter in the world, shipping over 5 million vehicles overseas. 37. Its primary trading partners are the ASEAN organization, the European Union, and the United States. 38. However, due to the ongoing trade war with the US, China has strategically pivoted its tech exports toward the global south, Russia, and the Middle East. 39. Through the Belt and Road Initiative, China isn't just exporting roads and ports. It is installing its digital infrastructure, 5G networks and AI cameras, in dozens of developing nations. 40. This digital Silk Road creates a deep geopolitical dependency, tying these nations to Chinese technological standards for decades to come. Part 5. Economic impact in the future. 41. This relentless technological production is absolutely critical for the survival of the Chinese economy, the second largest in the world with a GDP of roughly $17.5 trillion. With China's real estate sector in a deep and prolonged crisis, Beijing's leadership is relying entirely on high-quality growth through technology to keep its GDP in positive territory. 43. The tech industry sustains tens of millions of jobs, which is crucial for maintaining stability in a population of 1.4 billion, facing historically high youth unemployment. 44. The strategy of tech overcapacity drives down global prices, acting as a deflationary force for the world, but simultaneously devastating competitors in the West and Asia. 45. For China itself, technological supremacy means breaking free from the US dollar and American influence, cementing the yuan in trade with friendly nations. 6. However, its economy faces the massive threat of tariffs. The US and the EU have already imposed or are planning tariffs of up to 100% on Chinese EVs and tech products. 47. In retaliation, Beijing uses its initial advantage, slapping export restrictions on critical metals like gallium and germanium, suffocating Western tech industries. 48. The Chinese economy is now transforming into a technological war economy, where the state directs massive capital to champion companies to win global dominance. 49. Beijing's ultimate goal through the Made in China 2025 plan was to become completely self-sufficient in core tech sectors, a goal that has largely been met or even exceeded. 50. In conclusion, China is no longer just a player in the global market. By controlling everything from the dirt in the mines to the software in your smartphone, it has become the undisputed, irreplaceable foundation of the modern global tech economy. If a global trade war escalated tomorrow, who do you think would actually win? Does China's monopoly scare you, or is it simply superior planning? Drop your analysis in the comments below. We read and reply to all of them. Don't forget to subscribe to Oranime Atlas Tour and hit the bell so you never miss our deep dives. See you in the next one.